Okay, folks. So it was a pretty interesting day in our skies here across the Las Vegas Valley. First, I had this little spy plane here doing some weird patterns and loops and hanging out in the valley most of the day. And I was able to actually zoom in on it when it was flying back and forth this way. And I managed to zoom in on it a couple times there too. And there it is. When I zoomed in on it, was able to extract an image from it, and I was able to see what the call sign, the registration number on the side there was N68N Nancy 68. So when I did like a Google search on it, it turns out that it's owned by FAA, and they use this plane to test communication systems between the airplanes and the towers at the ground level. So, and it was zipping along. It was going pretty fast, and was able to zoom in on it from several different angles and check it out and extract a couple of images. That's how I was able to see who it belonged to. But apparently, it belongs to the FAA, and they use it to test the communication systems. So, but it was really interesting. It was doing some very interesting patterns here, and it hung around for quite a while, just doing loops and going back and forth. Um, but there was also some balloons that were launched off over by the west coast, and let me see. Let me pause that. Let's see. There were actually a total of 5 that popped up over here on the west side of the valley. There was another one down below here, and they drifted up for a little while. They hung around up there to the west of our location because we're right down in here. Let me pause that. We're down right over here, just above the Henderson label, and it was just to the west. These were kind of drifting up around right around 40,000, and they ended up landing. There was one that ended up landing over here by Red Rock, and this one drifted off over this way. And I managed to zoom in on that. It was quite a chore, let me tell you. It wasn't that easy to zoom in on this thing. And this one here just kind of kept drifting off to the east, and this one kind of landed off over in this area somewhere. Um, but like I said, it was hard to zoom in on it because as you can see already, this one this was the Beach King that was over here, and it was flying anywhere from 2 to 4,000 feet above us, and it just kept doing these weird loops around the valley here. And yeah, there's the other balloon that popped up right here. So you see one, two, three, four, 5 of these balloons that were launched from right over by the Sandy Valley, right over near the border with California, where the Sierra Nevadas are. And like I said, because I'm repetitive, I'll say it again. This is the one I believe that drifted over this way, and I was able to actually zoom in on it from our location down here, and it was very difficult to see. I will say that it was very difficult to see, and when I was able to actually get it in view, it was only after I had noticed another plane that was coming across in the sky. I was watching the flight tracker radar on my phone while I was out there with the camera, and I saw there was one of these planes that caught my eye. And after I'd already stood out here with the camera, like zooming in on the sky off in this direction for like, I don't know, probably 10, 15 minutes, I just couldn't get eye on it. And then I did like a comparison with the plane that I was able to actually see, and just kind of guessed. And as I was watching the plane that was coming through, I just happened to notice this little speck, this tiny little speck, because this balloon was up at like 40,000. Let me see if I can get this to go forward to show where that plane was. Yeah, there it is. It was up at 39,900 feet. And this would have been right around the area right here where I was able to zoom in on it from our location. And it was just a little speck in the sky. It was so hard to zoom in on. I tried and tried and tried as it was drifting across the sky. It was moving rather fast. So it took me several minutes to finally get it into the viewfinder on the camera because I could, once I got a lock on it with my eyes and a visual by comparing with the other plane that was up there in the sky, I was able to track it with my eyes, but I wasn't able to get it zoomed in to the camera right away. I kept having to zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, and I finally was able to zoom in on it. Now, this video here is as it was captured. I did absolutely nothing. I didn't adjust any colors or anything, but it has a very dark black type of a circle around it. It's highlighted very well just because it's so bright white, right? And I couldn't really tell what the payload was. Clearly, it had something down there that was keeping it up in the air, some kind of propulsion thing down here that was attached to it, of course. But it took me it took me a good number of tries to finally get zoomed in on it and actually record it drifting through. And it was moving rather fast. It was rather difficult to track, but I managed to do it. And this was up at about 40,000 feet. as you saw in the video here, you could see altitude 39.9. And these other ones just kind of drifted around. There was one that had disappeared over here, and the Army was over that way too. I don't know if I can show that. Let's see if I can get it back to the spot where the balloon was up there. Yeah, you can see right there. One of these little helicopters here was the Army, and it ended up just landing right there. So, and that plane, that weird spy plane that the FAA owns, just kept doing loop after loop, and then it would approach the airport here and get down really, really low, like around 2,000, and then it would lift back up again and do another loop. But as you can see, this was the one right here. That was the one I was able to zoom in on in this video that I was showing here. So it was pretty interesting. It was the first time I was able to actually zoom in on one of these balloons up high there, but I managed after several minutes and getting a little bit frustrated. I was finally able to record it up close. But again, because I'm repetitive, I'll say it again. I couldn't tell if there was any kind of a payload or anything on it. It just kind of looks like there's something, just underneath it, but it's most likely the propulsion system that's in there. So yeah, the wind was really carrying it pretty far. But yeah, this here was really interesting. This plane that was coming over and going back and forth because it was flying in really, really low. It was anywhere from 2 to 4,000 feet just above us, and clearly it has some equipment under there. And it was, communicating with other planes and stuff around here. But I think it's really interesting though when you look at the flight tracker radar and the path even that the spy plane here was going all around this part of the valley and spin around and stuff. Because earlier this morning, and I mean really early, like 12:30 a.m., like just after midnight, apparently there was a man that was shot in the leg by security outside the gate of the Nellis Air Force Base. And they finally reopened the gates. As you can see, there's all kinds of police activity here that was going on. But apparently, Las Vegas Metro Police, they're investigating an incident after shots were fired outside of Nellis Air Force Base. According to LVMPD, around 12:30 a.m., near Nellis Air Force Base security said a person at the gate pointed a gun at them, and security forces shot the suspect in the leg. Police report a tourniquet was applied, and the suspect was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And as an update, just after 9 a.m., from the Nellis Air Force Base said that the main gate and visitor control center had resumed standard operations. The Simons Gate is scheduled to remain open until 9:30 a.m. to assist with traffic flow. And the officials say there is no threat to the public, and it is an ongoing investigation. So that was going on very early, over in the early morning hours here in the valley too. And there was quite a bit of news about it. So I thought that was kind of curious too. And then here today we have this plane from the FAA doing loops, and I mean it was coming almost right directly over our house because, like I said, we're right down here in the valley, down at Henderson, and it was coming right directly over the house at times. And I don't know. I don't consent because, as far as I'm concerned, that's spying. I realize that, according to Google, this belongs to the FAA, and they fly this quite often when they're testing communication systems and stuff like that. But you choose a day after there's some kind of a suspect shot at Nellis Air Force Gate, Nellis Air Force Base at the gates, and now you're flying this thing around in circles and circles and circles. And here it almost looks like they were just triangulating on me, you know. But the balloons too. I see these. I've seen these launched from out here on the West Coast a few different times before, but never this many of them. Never five of them all at once being launched over the valley. I've never seen five of them, and I've never been able to zoom in on them. So I kind of lucked out today. It took me quite a bit of time. I've tried to have patience, but just as I was starting to get really, really frustrated, like I said, I was able to, you know, zoom in on it and get an eye on it with the naked eye, by comparing it to another plane that was up in the sky at the time. So yeah. Anyway, these ones ended up landing up to the north. These balloons did. One of them ended up landing up here by Valley of Fire State Park. And it was kind of curious too because there was another plane. Actually, there were two, according to Flight Tracker radar, that was out in the same area by Valley of Fire. And they were just kind of flying together really close. And if you notice, the registration numbers are very, very similar. And I thought they were the same at first. When I first looked at it, it took me several seconds to realize, no, these are actually different. Because one is 15666 and the other one is 51666. Well, this Piper Cherokee Charger was the one that ended up dropping off the map right over here, just west of the Valley of Fire, in Moapa Valley. And you can see there's a call number N15666, and it's a Piper Cherokee Charger. Okay. And then you have the other one, which is Cessna at 51666. So, and if you watch here as this video plays forward, you're going to see the Piper Cherokee Charger just kind of disappear off of the flight tracker radar. Oh, let me back that up. Wait, let me back it up to where the plane is still there. There it is. Yeah, you see it just kind of disappear. And it was up at like 5,600 feet. And then all of a sudden, boom, that's gone. That one's off the radar, but this one continues going. So, and this was all going on at the same time that the balloon was up drifting over in this area too, where it ended up landing. So, I don't know. It was a pretty interesting morning around here, that's for sure. But I'm rather proud of myself. I was able to actually zoom in on one of those balloons finally, because I've seen them over here before on the flight tracker radar, and I'll go out and I'll stare at the sky, trying to find it, just seeing if I can see it with my naked eye. And this was the first time I was able to actually track it and record it with the camera, with the Nikon. So, yeah, anyway, just stay safe and mindful, y'all, because there sure is a whole lot of stuff going on, right? You had the other incident going on over there with ice and all that happening, and we had some kind of shooting here at Nellis. So stay safe and mindful, folks. Know that I appreciate you and that you matter very much to me. Stay tuned. There's definitely more to come if I can help it. See how it's got the dark outline on it? I didn't adjust the color or anything on it. That's just how the camera recorded it. I thought that was kind of curious. Anyway, stay safe and mindful. Know that I appreciate you and that you matter very much to me. And it matters very much to me that you stay safe and you stay mindful.